This might be the weirdest part of the video.
Falling from cloud nine.
Whoop, sorry, didn't want to break your leg. What the heck is happening? That's awesome. All right, so it's funny. Hi, I'm Stefan, and today I'm going to show you how I created the 3D animated video for my cover of Wide Awake by Katy Perry in Unreal Engine 5.7. I figured I'm already doing it, so why not record and document it? So without further ado, let's dive in. I'm starting out here in Unreal Engine 5.7 in the VR template project because I have set up my motion capture for the body with my virtual reality headset with the Meta Quest 2. And you can see here my character, which looks a bit off, but that's just due to how the animation blueprint and the control rig is set up and stuff. And I'm not going to show you like step by step how to set this up. This is not going to be a tutorial, but just a workflow process documentation. For this 3D animated short, I've already recorded the music for this, and there's a documentation video about this as well, which should be on my channel somewhere. And if you want to check this out, feel free to do so. Since the music is already recorded, I've already imported it in the project and set up a level sequence with this, which just looks like this. So in the level sequence, there's just the audio, which is a bit long here, and that's just the recording that I've done, right? So that's just the WAV file essentially playing. And I've set up this level sequence because I want to play this level sequence while I'm recording so I can listen to the song and do the movements to the song essentially. For this recording, which I'm doing first, I'm only going to record the body since I don't have it set up so that my iPhone is like taped to my head somehow and I can do the lip syncing as well at the same time. I can do them separately since the whole body of my characters is in modules anyway, so the mouth is a separate mesh from the body and the eyes as well. So for now I'm just focusing on the body, and for that I'm going to use the take recorder. So under Windows Cinematics I'm going to open up the take recorder, give it a name here, and then I'm going to just drag in my character that I want to record. Let me just make this a bit bigger. I'm used to my ultra wide screen, and here on the 16:9 aspect ratio it's just a bit cramped. So inside of the take recorder I can select what actors I want to record inside of the gameplay, so I could also like drive a car and record this, or I could play with a player character. In this case it's just my puppeteer. And here I can select inside of the actor in this list here, I can select which data I want to record. So underneath here in the settings, I can expand this and it shows me all of the components essentially in their hierarchy and which types of tracks I can record here. But they are only going to record if something changes. So you see here there's a visibility track, a spawn track, attach track, transform track, and only if something changes there will be a track for that. So if the visibility never changes during the recording, there won't be any track. So that's fine, but I'm going to toggle everything off anyways and only toggle on my body, which is this here, with the mannequin. And I'm going to also toggle off the head because I don't need it. The head is just a separate mesh here, just the head, but the head movement is already inside of the body skeleton mesh. What I'm also going to do is under the animation recorder settings, change the interpolation mode from linear to constant, and then set up the frames per second to be 12. It's going to give me a warning, but I don't care about that. I want to have this stop motion look, right? So 12 frames per second, and this constant interpolation mode means that there's not going to be any interpolation in between keyframes, which is cool. Alright, so that's set up, and additionally I want another track essentially, or another type of data to record, and that's just going to be a level sequence, which I've already shown you. And inside here, level sequence to trigger, I'm going to select my Wide Awake, this one, and there's not going to be any recorded data from that, but it's just going to play live while I do it, while I do the recording. Right. Also, I'm going to do like a default setup here. So the countdown 5 seconds, that should be fine. Let's do 6 to be sure, because I have to set up my VR headsets and stuff. So let's see how this turns out. I'm going to do a test try and see if everything with the motion capture works, and just switch to runtime here to play an editor in VR. So let's see. Okay, there we go. Let me just reset this here. Okay, You should be able to see my hands, like my view on the screen as well. I'm not going to blend in the actual view of the Quest headset because that's too much. So here I can essentially like do my movements what I want, and while the music then plays, I can listen to it in the headset and then just record the movements. It's really easy. As you can see, if I look down at my body, it will also walk, right? If I walk, it's not actually tracking the feet, it's just tracking the head position, and based on if the head is moving too far off from its origin point, it's trying to adapt to that. So you can see it's moving a bit weird as well. So the body is not moving perfectly like a real human body, but that's fine because embracing the jank, like I said in previous videos, is part of the concept here of bad motions. And I'm just trying to do this as quickly and as easily as possible and as frictionless as possible as well, right? So anything that I can do in a really quick and efficient manner, it's fine. As long as it gets me the result that I want, I'm fine with that. If it's a little bit janky, right? Okay, so this works. I think everything is set up correctly. So I'm going to stop this. And I'm sure I'm going to have VR head for this video, but that's fine. And let's see. Everything should be set up fine. So what I'm going to do now is essentially start the gameplay again, then move out of the gameplay, try to start the recording, and then move back into the gameplay and hope that everything works. So let's just give me a few more seconds. Let's make it 8 seconds to make sure that I still have enough time. So I'm going to start this, see that everything works, that I can see my hands in here. Right, okay, that's fine. Then I'm going to press Shift F1 and open this up, start the recording, and go back here.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high. I'm letting go tonight. I'm falling from cloud nine. Thunder on the lake.
Alright, this might be the weirdest part of the video. I hope it was funny to you. I'm going to watch the recording and see if it turned out okay. And then we'll see if we move on. Okay, so I've opened the level sequence up and I'm just going to add the music track here as well. Give me a sec. Okay, so there's the music track. Let's see, I think I have to adjust the timing a bit. Let me close the take recorder quickly. So this is the recorded character now. And if I scrub through, you can see the movements.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high. I'm letting go tonight. I'm falling from cloud nine. Thunder on the lake.
So you can see that's the type of recording I get out of there. The idea behind it is for the first part, so for the chorus, the puppet is going to fall through some clouds, so falling from cloud 9. And for the second part, I'm not sure. I think there's going to be some chaos destruction maybe for castles crumbling, and maybe some like lightning effects in the background for thunder rumbling. And for the first part, like I said, it's going to fall. Let me just turn off the audio. So it's going to fall, that's why I did this with my arms. And the lower body is not animated currently. Let's see if I just do like a camera view that only shows the upper half of the body, and then it could be fine. Otherwise, I could just animate a few keyframes for the legs with some IK maybe, I don't know. And for the second half, it's more of like standing somewhere and singing it, similar to what the actual like covers that people have done on social media have done. So I think that works. I mean, it was the first recording and it's janky, but it's just the jank that I want. So if you notice, if you take a closer look at like the neck and the upper body here, it moves sometimes very weird, right? So here you see whoop, 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 whoop. And that's just due to how everything is set up with the IK, with the animation blueprint and the control rig. And I haven't quite figured out a perfect solution for that, but also it somehow works for me. So for now, I'm going to leave it as is. Okay, the next steps is going to be exporting this out and importing this into the actual project where I'm working, where all of my assets are, all of my characters are, with the clothing and hair and stuff like that. And then I'm going to set up a simple environment for the first part, for the chorus, because I think I'm going to do like 2 separate videos, 2 separate shorts for the chorus, and then for the bridge part, which is the second half of this song recording. And I'm going to focus first on the first part. So I'm going to check back in with you once I've prepared everything. Okay. All right, welcome in my current master project of BADMOTIONS, which is just a lot of trying stuff out. You can see here is the piece of shit that I've done for my first video. Here are some of the characters and some stuff I've tried out. Here's the bro from the Cool Story Bro music video, and there are the ninjas and stuff, and there's another character that I'm going to use for a later video. And here's also my character, right? So the avatar for me. I don't have the same clothes on right now, but it's basically similar to what I'm normally wearing. So this is the guy I'm going to use. I'm going to essentially sing it myself as myself in the cover. And first, what I'm going to do is create a new map, like a completely empty map, new level, empty level, create. And in this empty level, I'm first going to import my character. So here I have this guy. Let's just drag it in. And I'm going to set it to just 0, 0, 0 in the world. It's going to look weird without the lighting, but I'm going to add the lighting next. Since I'm going to focus on the first part for now, which is falling from the clouds and through the sky essentially, I'm going to add a sky. And the best sky I do have here in my assets library is the ultra dynamic sky. So I'm going to just drag in the ultra dynamic sky, the blueprint, and this is going to add clouds, a horizon, an atmosphere, and all of the sunlights and stuff that I need. So I'm just going to drag it in here, zero it out, and it just looks awesome just from the get-go. The cool thing here is that I have a lot of controls in my details panel. I can select, for example, how much clouds I want with the cloud coverage. So you can see it just grows darker as well because the clouds add shadows. And then lower here underneath volumetric clouds, I can also change the bottom altitude and set them so low that I'm essentially inside of the clouds, which looks great. So this is going to be my base setup, I feel like. So it already looks like he is in the sky. But these clouds I cannot really animate correctly, so I don't have enough control. So this is mostly going to be a background, and I'm going to fake the clouds that just whiz by. So I'm not going to actually animate the character falling through the sky, but he's going to stand still, and some animated clouds with a particle effect essentially is going to drive on and whiz past him. Okay, so for the clouds that are rushing past the character, I'm going to create a Niagara particle system. So I'm going to right-click Niagara system, and I'm going to add a minimal emitter. Okay, so just this minimal lightweight thing, create it, and I'm going to call it NS Clouds Rushing Past BADMOTIONS. I don't know. Double click to open. And here I just have this minimal emitter. I don't like this one. And I'm going to add this minimal emitter because it has already most of what I need. These particles are going to be sprites, so essentially flat planes that always orient towards the camera, and they're going to have like a smoke, cloudy type texture. Since they're moving so fast, you're not going to properly see them, I think. For that, I've already prepared that material that I've had lying around. It's based on the easy fog textures from William Forscher. Great dude, by the way, so check out his YouTube channel if you haven't. And this is just like very, very basic stuff and very quickly thrown together. It's just two of the cloud textures that he has. Like, looks like this, right? So it's just basically a bit of noise in the shape with also some normals and a panning noise that just offsets the opacity a bit. And then there's the particle random value that's just randomly selecting one of these two. So it's not always the same cloud, but two are enough, I feel like. And I've already selected the material here in my sprite renderer. And now I'm going to add a spawn rate. So I want like, let's say 50 particles per second. Then under initialize particle, I'm going to give it a random lifetime of between 2 and 4 seconds or something like that. Sprite size is going to be random uniform, so it's going to be a square because the texture is made for a square, but it's going to be bigger, so something like 200 and 400. This looks very bad right now, but let me fix this. I'm going to add a shape location, which just tells the particles where to spawn, so where to start existing. And I'm going to change this shape to a ring and increase the disk coverage. So once I turn this up and increase the ring size, let's say 400 or something, then I have like this circle that you can see of 400 centimeters, and the disk coverage then tells it if it should only stay on the like border or if it should cover the whole thing, right? And I want to cover almost everything because at the center the character is going to stand, and then the clouds will just rush past him. One thing I will quickly add is scale color. The scale color is for the alpha specifically, so that the clouds don't pop into existence, but rather fade in and then fade out. So under scale alpha, I'm going to add a float from curve. And here under the curve presets, I'm going to add this curve. So it starts off fast and then it just fades out over time, right? And now it's much more organic already. The clouds already also have some movement within them from the panning noise that I have here in my material. It's just one panner. I could also add more detail, but this works for now. So let me quickly save this and also add this to my level, just so I can already see how it's working and what I need to adjust potentially. Also going to zero this out. All right. So I can't see anything, so let me see what I can do here. First I'm going to add also velocity, so add velocity. And the add velocity just gives a particle speed once it's born in any direction that I choose. But for any movement for the particles to be calculated, it needs one of these modules. Either the solve forces and velocity, which is going to go under particle update, or the apply initial forces. I'm going to use the solve forces and velocity because if I want to use some drag or something later on, this already solves this. So I'm going to click on fix issue, which creates the module for me. Right, so under add velocity, I'm going to set the velocity to 0, 0, 1. So it's just going up. And then under velocity speed scale, I'm going to add a random range float. So every particle will have a different speed. And I'm going to say, let's say 200 to 350 or something like that. That's pretty quick. Save this. And then inside of here, I can already see the clouds rushing past. I think I need to make them bigger and maybe also add a bit of emission so they don't look as dark. Currently it looks like smoke. Or if the character let out the biggest fart ever. But this works, like the basis of it is there. So under initialize particle, I'm going to increase this to 500 to, let's say 800. Make it really big. Because I basically just want some noise rushing past so we can see, oh yeah, these are clouds essentially. Okay, I'm also going to save this map. Alright. So under the easy fog material, let's add some emissive color. Multiply this by the particle. Add some emissive color here, and now we can see. Okay, I think this works. I think there are too many particles. Let's turn this down to 20 or something. So once they are there, I think it works. I'm going to put the particle system a bit below him, so they start off lower. But once I am somewhere around here, this could work. But I need more coverage on the disk. So let's make this like this, and also the disk can be smaller, I feel like, because we're not going to be very far out. Yeah, I want a few in front of the camera as well, right? Okay. So I think this works for now. I'm pretty happy with that. Next I'm going to add the animation in here, then I'm going to record the facial animation, specifically only the mouth in this case, and then I'm going to set up cameras, maybe add some lighting as well, and I think the first part of that could be done by then. Okay, so I have created a level sequence and added my character in here, added a body track, like the track for the body skeletal mesh, and also already imported the animation that we've done earlier with the VR headset and then put it in here. So I'm going to make the animation a bit longer, the level sequence. Okay, and I'm going to change the frames per second to 12 once again for my stop motion type look. I'm going to add the music as well, this, yep, and then I have to see if I need to adapt the timing a bit, so give me a sec. Alright, this works, I think. So let's save this. So let's add some lights here. I'm going to add a rect light, zero this out. This is just going to light up the face, and I might increase the size just to have some softer lighting, so maybe 300. And then I'm going to duplicate it and put it behind. Give it a bluish tint. Let's see, we put it on one side only to have the kind of backlight here, right? If I turn off the clouds and let's drag this down a bit. So if I turn this off and on, it just adds my rim light here a bit, right? And I think that's fine. So I just realized that the clouds rushing past the character don't really work, because I imagine him falling on his back and the clouds are rushing past him like this, but they should be rushing past him like this. So I need to rotate them. So I'm going to select them and rotate them by 90 degrees. Now this should work. If I take a look, right. And I'm going to position them like central behind him. But then it doesn't make sense with the sky. So I'm going to I'm going to reset this. So -80, 0. And then I'm going to just rotate the character, because the character should lie on its back. That's the easiest. Otherwise the clouds in the background will not work. Okay, so character. Give me a transform track. And then under transform, rotation, I can just rotate you -90, and then like this should work.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from.
Alright, then the particle system can go much lower, like maybe 200. And let's see where it is. Maybe drag it up a bit higher. Ultra Dynamic Sky can go even lower, I feel like, with the clouds. Alright, I can see clouds below, I can see the clouds rushing past, and something like this could work. Cool, so let me add a camera. I'm just going to add a camera here. Since this is going to be for a vertical shot, I'm going to already do the camera as a vertical camera and adjust my perspective accordingly. So selecting my Cine Camera Actor, inside of my details panel, I can set up the film back, which is essentially the virtual sensor of the camera. And we have some presets here, like an IMAX 70mm or Super 35 or whatever. But I can also do custom sensor width and height. And mostly what I do for vertical stuff is 24 by 14. And then I can adjust my framing, right? So something like this. Not sure. I'm going to play around with it a bit. Alright, so like this, -90. Ooh. Why won't you work? Alright, and then I can adjust my camera here. I think the 35mm is fine. I'm going to adjust the focus point, and then let's see how this looks.
Falling from cloud nine.
I think I need to be closer, otherwise the legs are too noticeable. So I'm going to go up a bit and in a bit, and then move a bit like this. but I also have to think about where the lyrics, like the text on the screen, is going to be. So I think I'm going to drag him up so that he doesn't have a lot of headroom, but here I will have space for the text.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high. I'm left.
Okay, I think I'm not going to get around animating the legs a bit, but that's fine. For that, I think I'm going to use a layered control rig because all of the animation is fine for now. Maybe I can also adapt some of the arm animations where it maybe clips a bit into the head, I'm not sure. But the layered control rig is the best way for that. So let me just go into my actor here, under body. Going to go to the start and add a new track, a control rig. Don't filter asset by skeleton, make it layered. And then I have this CR mannequin body, which just works with the skeleton that I've chosen here. And now I can animate what I want. I'm going to go out of the camera view. This is going to be weird, animating like on his back, but it will work, I think. So I think we're not going to use IK for the legs because it's much easier, I feel like, to just animate the individual joints. So the arms should be fine. I think the arms we will do IK because like this I could then adjust the hand position if it clips into the head much easier. And the leg FK IK switch for right and left I will turn off. Okay, I'm going to turn off my clouds so I can much more easily grab this. And then I can just grab my legs. Whoop. Sorry. Didn't want to break a leg. What the heck is happening? So something like this could work. And then I'm just going to alternate between some poses and see if this works. So here is where it actually starts. So let's give it a keyframe here and then we can essentially just animate this. Right, and this I can just copy over, I feel like. These two and these two. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is going to be very rough. So let's see how this looks through the camera. I feel like there's enough movement. And now I can see where the hand clips in, like here. Go out of the camera view and see when it happens. Shortly before it happens, I will add a keyframe for that. Just deselect it and reselect it will bring me to this inside of the sequencer. Add a keyframe. And here I will adjust this slightly. This. And once it's away again, I can reset it. And that's how a layered control rig can help you just get rid of this clipping. Okay, let's get rid of the control rig and let's see how this looks.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high.
Cool. Cool. Let's adjust the lighting because our lighting was built for standing upright. So let me select this. Okay.
Falling from cloud nine.
Okay, I think I like this so far. It's good enough for my purpose. Okay, so I just noticed that some of my camera recordings did not actually record. That's awesome. I'm not going to re-record the stuff. I might just do a time-lapse. You might have already seen it. The next thing that I'm doing is recording the face animation with the iOS LiveLink app. For that, I'm using my iPhone 12 Pro, which is still fine after over 4 years, which is great. And I'm going to connect this to my character here. Let me just set this up. So the character is already changing the mouth shape based on what I do, right? And now I can record this just as a separate animation track and then put this animation track in my sequence here as well. I'm going to use the sequence that I already have. I'm going to put in my headphones and then I'm going to create a tape recorder. I'm going to call this like this, Wide Awake. Let's do 12 frames per second, put in my actor. In this case, I'm also not going to record everything, but just the mouth. So under the default scene root, under body, under the head, I have a component specifically for the mouth, which is this one, the skeleton mesh component. Once again, I'm going to set the interpolation mode to constant because the mouth shapes don't actually blend, they just are they are just separate mouth shapes, separate sprites. And I'm going to add another level sequence, like before. Inside of the level sequence, I'm going to add this level sequence that we were just currently editing. And normally, if press play, this should work. And if I press record, it should start.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high. I'm letting go tonight. I'm falling from cloud nine. Thunder on the lake.
Alright, so it's funny. Alright, so as you might have seen, I'm really exaggerating my mouth shapes so that they transfer over the best that they can. So if I open back up my actual level sequence and then go under the actor, add a track for the mouth, just close down the track for the body. Here on the mouth I can add 2 tracks below. One is the animation mode, because normally it has the animation mode to be set to animation blueprint, so it can be controlled by the LiveLink Face app. But I'm going to change this to the custom mode, because for sequencer to take over, the custom mode is necessary. And then I can add an animation. And this I might have to adjust once again from the timing. So let's see. Okay, it needs to go back.
Falling from cloud nine, crashing from the high. I'm letting go tonight. I'm falling from cloud nine.
Okay, so you see the mouth shapes work more or less, but I have to adjust them a bit to make them work correctly for the song. That's just due to how all of this is set up. It's not perfect yet, it's a bit too janky still, even though I'm embracing the jank. So sometimes I have to then bake down the animation into keyframes because I've set up a very simple control rig for that, and then I can adjust the keyframes a bit and delete unnecessary shapes that I don't want, just to have that bit of control as well. And I'm going to show you this if you want to, because it's really easy. For that, let me just quickly save. But first I'm going to adjust the focus because I feel like it's too far back. I can right click on my mouth track and bake to control rig. And there's the control rig mouth character, which I've built. This now asks me what I want to bake. All of the transform, all of the stuff. I need the material curve specifically because I'm controlling some curves, some values inside of my material. The interpolation I'm going to set to step and curve interpolation to constant. And I'm going to reduce keys because the mouth shapes don't change that much. And I'm going to create. And here you can see the keyframes. If I zoom in, you can see every keyframe here is one mouth shape change. Like here's an O, here's the smile, here's the and I can also exchange the type of mouth shape. Like currently it has the angry, sad mouth shapes, like the A is but I also have the like happy mouth shapes where the A is right? So for now it works. So I'm going to delete, I think, these two here. Okay, so the falling and the falling, you can see it just grins, but I want this E. So here the mouth shape does not work. So I'm going to change this to, I think it's 6, right? This is just like an index of mouth shapes. So it goes from 0 to 8. 0 is closed, 1 is also closed, then 2 is the O, 4 is the smile, 5 is E, and 6 also, and 7 and 8 is the A. And that's essentially how I adjust my mouth shapes if they don't fit the song perfectly. I won't do this for like everything, but for like song lip syncing, I feel like it's worth it. Alright, so I have adjusted the mouth shapes a bit as well as the legs positions because I feel like they look like falling much more now. So here's what I have so far.
Falling from cloud nine.
Like, it's enough, right? Next I'm going to set my in and out points for the first part of the song, the chorus. Which I'm going to render out as a separate file, and then I'm going to build a completely separate environment for the second part of the song, which is the bridge, with the castles crumbling and thunder rumbling. So I'm going to find a good in point, something like this maybe, and then set the in point here with the green line. Then I'm going to move past somewhere, and I'm going to cut here, so I'm going to set the out point here, even though this is already at the second half for me, but I need to have some like overlapping frames just to be able to cut wherever I want later on in DaVinci Resolve, right? So this is fine. Let me just turn on the clouds as well again. So now we can see essentially how it really looks. And the next thing I'm going to do is open up the movie render queue by clicking on the little slate here. And this opens up the movie render queue where I can set up my settings. I'm going to just use a JPEG sequence. It doesn't matter, it's just social media, right? I'm not going to do too much post-processing color-wise later on. Deferred rendering is also fine, and under output I'm going to do a 16:9 aspect ratio, but like flipped, so vertical. So I'm going to do 1080 but times 2 because I want to render out in 4K, and then 1920 times 2. But I could also like memorize these numbers, but 1920 by 1080 is just in my head. So that's fine. I could set up a custom frame rate, but I've already set up the correct frame rate here, and I also could set up here a custom playback range, but that's why I set the in and out points. I'm just going to quickly set up my output directory. So now it's set up. I can click accept, and once I click on render local, it will render this out for me. Okay, I've already seen a mistake. I have not turned off motion blur, which I don't want for my stop motion animation. So maybe just add another post-process volume. And in my post-process volume, I'm going to turn off the motion blur amount to 0. And also make sure that infinite extend unbound is checked, but only the settings that I'm overriding will actually do something. So with that, I can save again and click on render. As you can see in the rendering, the character automatically blinks, right? Like right here. And that's essentially how it's done. After the rendering is done, I will have this image sequence of JPEG images, and this then I can import into DaVinci Resolve and do my final video edit and a bit of post-color correction and stuff like that. So I'm not currently sure how the environment for the second part will look, so I'm going to get some inspiration, think about it a bit, and check back in with you once I have something to show. Okay, so I've done a bit of work and tried to implement the idea that I had in my head. And in my Unreal editor, you can see the scene that I've built. So I have these floating ruin stones, like the crumbling castles essentially, that are floating around my character that is standing on these stairs. All of these are Quixel Megascans, right? Because they just look great. And I've set up the animation that I've already had for the body and the face. So if I play this now,
Thunder on the lake.
you can see that the puppet moves and the face moves as well. And in the background we have this rainy sky with some lightning happening there in the background as well for the rumbling thunder. That was the idea at least. I also animated the camera a bit, so if I jump into the camera view, you can see this is what it looks like from here.
Thunder on the lake. I am trying to hold on.
And the ruin pieces are floating around in the background and rotating around here.
Right side, I am not blind anymore.
So, and with that, I'm also going to export this out, like render it out with the movie render queue, and then put this into DaVinci Resolve, finish it all up, and then render out the video. I'm still missing the last part of the video where the puppet then wakes up and finds out it was all just a dream. I'm not going to do this today, I feel like. I'm not sure. This is not going to be part of this video. So If you've watched this far, I hope you got something out of it. Maybe you learned something. I just wanted to share my process and just take you along on the journey. And if you've seen something that might be interesting to you, where you wanted to dive deeper a little bit or ask some questions, feel free to just leave them in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you for coming along on the journey. And as always, thanks and see ya.